Weight bullying is creating superstars. I actually feel like weight bullying and the act of weight bullying and cutting major weight is actually creating superstars. And I know it's a double-edged sword because I know a lot of people talk about, yeah, dude, but if you cut weight, you lose your chin, Not necessarily. And I want to point to some things as, like, about this and why I think that. First of all, if you guys didn't know now, Ilya Topuria's coach actually went ahead and confirmed that, like, Ilya is done with 145 because this dude's walking around 190 pounds, bro. Chat. Ilya's 5'7", 5'7", walking around at 190. Chat. I'm 6'4". I'm about 175, 177. I fluctuate between that, you know. I'm not 190, and I know obviously I could be 190, but the fact that this 5'7" little man, you know, say, trust me, I can knock Kenny out, trust me. How can he walk heavier than me? How am I letting this little ball of fury, this little ball walk around bigger than me, bro? He thinks he's a real bad man. I'm about to show him something, but that's besides the point. I'm actually shocked that he's walking around this heavy. It almost doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to show you what his coach said today. This is how the interview went. It was on Submission Radio. So shout out Submission Radio for dropping this interview. This is Ilya Topuria's coach, and this is what he had to say about Ilya Topuria and his weight and all that.
I think he hate cut weight, you know. He do it a lot of times, and it's very harder every time we do it. He don't want to do this anymore, and that's why I want to go up to the next weight class. He's young, you know, and your body is changing. When you have 20, you have a body. When you have 25, you have another, and when you are
this has some truth to it.
You have another, you know. Sometimes I see Ilya in 85 kilos, you know, and
85 kilos is roughly 187 pounds, by the way, which is crazy, especially at 5'7". He must be a really stocky dude.
He needs to be 66. We do very big weight.
So here's the thing about that whole situation. First of all, I want to say the fact that he was even making weight, and I feel like I've never seen him like talk about struggling with weight or like anything of the sort. Maybe good for him. Like, he's a tough guy. He's making the weight. But I've noticed something about these weight cuts, chat, because it happened to Alex Pereira too. And for some reason, I don't really know the science behind it. When these bigger guys cut this a certain amount of weight into smaller weight classes, they keep their strength. Now, if you look at Alex Pereira, I feel like people forget about Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, he had 3 fights in a title fight. I know they were against all strikers, but one thing that was prevalent is that his power and his size was evident when he stepped in the octagon. When he was fighting Izzy that day, he looked so much bigger. When he was fighting Strickland, he looked so much bigger than these guys because he was cutting from about 228 all the way to 185. Now, these guys, I don't know how they keep their strength, but I want to point out something there because I know people said, oh, Izzy only chinned Pereira because Pereira got weak from the weight cut. I don't necessarily think that's true. Like I said, Pereira does, you know, rehydrate up really well, just like Ilya. Ilya does not look like skinny or like frail. They rehydrate really well. I do think, however, that when you are cutting an absurd amount of weight, there is a time limit to how long you can stay in that smaller weight class for. And I feel like when Pereira did fight Izzy, you know, that time limit might have been reached to a point where, like, when you keep cutting the weight too much, that's when the body starts to, like, be a negative and your chin might be affected. It's not that, oh, if you cut absurd amount of weight for a couple fights, it's going to do. Over the accumulation of your career, if you're getting older and you're still continuously cutting an absurd amount of weight, then your body's going to start to get weaker, and that's when your chin gets exploited. However, this is why I think Ilya is doing the right thing. At first, we had so much, like, why is Ilya leaving? We thought it was because of chasing greatness because he wants to retire when he's 30. That might have a little part into it because he is 27. He has some work to do. You know what I'm saying? If he wants to retire at 30, which is crazy. But, brother, it's the fact that he was just this heavy, bro. I don't think people understand. Like, almost 190 is absurd. Like, that's absurdly heavy. That's, like, crazy. And he keeps the power. So when I see Ilya knocking out these guys, I used to be like, how is Ilya so, like, pound for pound? I think he is harder than Pereira pound for pound. Like, we got to be real. Like, Pereira is, like, knocking these guys out, but he's not, like, putting them to sleep the way Ilya is. And I was like, I was wondering, how is Ilya pound for pound such a powerful puncher? I don't know what the science is behind it, like I said, but Pereira and Ilya, when they were able to go to this 185 weight, their power was able to be so prevalent to a point where they'll be winning their fights due to their power. Like, Izzy in the first fight with Pereira was destroying Pereira, you know what I'm saying? And then he got caught with the power eventually. And then, eventually Pereira found his time limit. The time limit was reached. But Ilya Topuria is doing the smart thing in the fact that, like, he's leaving before his time limits reach or, like, his body can't take it. He's 27, to be fair. Like, I think he could definitely still have a couple 145 fights. I really believe that he's like I said, he's chasing superstardom mixed up with the fact that like maybe physically or mentally he is just a little bit overwhelming for him, so he wants to get a little bit more comfortable at 155. And it's funny because people say the chin gets exploited, but like maybe it's because Topuria. No offense to, I'm about to throw some shade at Max and Volk, so all these foot fans don't get mad. Don't, oh, dude, that's my goat, dude. Don't talk about him like that, bro. Maybe it's because Max and Volk kind of have pillow hands. Listen, bro. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm still a real bad man. You get me, bro. But I just feel like maybe don't have enough power to like exploit the weight cut chin if that's a real thing. But most weight bullies, quote unquote, they don't really like have a bad chin unless like it's continuous. Like people said Khabib was a weight bully. He's made it weight every single time. He's been hit with like clean shots with Justin Gaethje and all this stuff. But Khabib's another one of those people who showed that when you're a little bit bigger and cutting down to these other weights, you're able to still go in there and like the strength advantage is there and you're able to dominate. I legitimately think there's a new meta going around. This meta is, if you're a bigger guy, if you cut an absurd amount of weight that you can attain and then you just rehydrate back up, one, you keep your power. Two, you keep your strength. Like I said, Khabib was very strong. Ilya looked very, very strong, you know what I'm saying? Pereira looks strong. I mean, Pereira has no wrestling, but like physically he looks strong. You know, and Pereira was so heavy, chat, that even when he went to light heavyweight, he was still cutting an absurd amount of weight. That guy was like ill weight bully. But I really don't like the narrative that like weight bullies, well, it's weird because people say weight bullies are, oh, they're cheating. And then other people say, oh, like if you cut too much weight, you have no chin. So people can't really choose a side. But in this video, I'm going to pick and choose a side. I think cutting the weight is actually more beneficial than negative to the person if you're not abusing your body to a point where like physically and mentally, you can't cut the weight anymore. And that's where I think Ilya's at. You know what I'm saying? I think Ilya's out there. And Ilya actually said he's ready to fight either Charles or Dustin. So he is going up in weight. And like I said, even 155, 190 to 155, chat, that's still a significant weight cut. Like, I feel like people aren't comprehending that. It's just like Pereira. Even though he went up weight, he's still cutting a big amount of weight. So this is shocking to me that he's like, physically, if this is true, and I look at Ilya, I look at him, he looks kind of wide. Like, looking at this picture, him compared to like Charles and Dustin. Even Dustin, you know, he's like a pretty strong 155er. Looking at the sheer size, just when both of them in the octagon, Ilya might be 5'7", and a little bit shorter than Dustin, but I could actually see like the shoulders on Ilya, the chest on Ilya. I can see the size. Like, I can see the size. So if this guy really is 190, the strength, the power advantage, all that is not going to be that significant. Chat, you know who we all saw it with? We saw it with Aljamain Sterling. People forget, like, I remember when Aljo was fighting on 135, he was a lot stronger than these guys, but he was cutting a lot of weight. Like, Aljo outside, bro, anyone who's seen Aljo outside of camp, he just looked kind of chubby, not chubby, but like big. And then he goes up to 145, and then the big thing's like, oh, I just don't think he's going to have that strength because, you know what I'm saying? But the reason Aljo's able to go in there and still lift up Movsar, slam him on his head the same way he was doing it to guys in bantamweight is legitimately because, like, the amount of weight they're cutting is absurd. So even when they go up in weight, that power and that strength and that sheer size is still on them. I think this is a new meta, and I think more people are going to start exploiting it. The only bad part, you might get people like TJ Dillashaw. Yeah, remember when TJ Dillashaw cut to flyweight? There's some, like, I feel like there's like limits, of course, limits to everything. It's not like these guys can just cut an absurd amount of weight. If it's attainable for your height and your size, like I said, Ilya isn't the tallest guy. He's 5'7", but like naturally he's just a bigger guy, wider in the shoulders. He has a filled out chest. You know what I'm saying? So like it works for someone like that. Alex Pereira, he's very tall, but he's not naturally tall and big. He's naturally like tall on the skinnier side, so he's able to even make 185 and then bulk back up off of just like sheer size on his upper body rather than his lower body. If you look at Alex Pereira when he cuts the weight, even when he goes up in weight, his legs still look like chicken legs. It's really his upper body that fills out, so he has the body type to do it. You know, Aljo has the body type to do it because he's not the very tall guy, so he can make 135 and 145 and still kind of be the same strength. So I really feel as if people are, I'm not saying cheating, but I feel like there's this weight thing is like creating superstars. Like this year is creating superstars. Ilya and Alex, the two people who are like in the head of this charge, they were in the two top runners of like the fighter of the year because their excessive weight that they cut and then they put back on during the fight. The benefits to this to me is really like you're keeping your power and your strength and your durability for an extent. The durability is the only thing on a time limit here, brother. It's the durability. Like the durability is not going to be like top tier for a majority of time. Probably for a short period of time, couple fights, handful of fights, your durability is going to go there. But excessively draining your body, that's when the chin's going to start to get compromised. I just don't think it comes as early as people think it is. So I really feel like these weight cuts, these major weight cuts, like are creating superstars and creating people who are damn near unbeatable. Like even Ilya, like say Ilya did stay at 145. I know Movsar is like a lot better in the wrestling and grappling department, but like if he fills out in the ring pretty well, it's gonna probably be harder for someone like Moms to even control him for a long period of time. So no, so it's official that, you know what I'm saying, Ilya's not ducking. I don't think Ilya's ducking anyone at 145. I think he beat the two, 145 goats. I think he's going up to a different weight class. I think Dustin Poirier on paper is probably the hardest fight for him. He doesn't even, he's targeting the Charles fight first, but if it falls through, he's gonna go for the Dustin. I feel like Charles is not gonna take the fight, and I think it's gonna end up being Dustin because Dustin did show interest on Twitter. So we're gonna have to see if this weight bullying strategy is gonna work in a higher weight class. And I'm telling you right now why I think Ilya's gonna beat Dustin is because I believe that the sheer size and strength and power is still gonna transfer over to 155. Because if you're truly walking around at 187, 190, you're that big at 5'7", you're filling out that strong, that power is gonna transfer over. I even think the power might be even more significant because he's cutting less weight, which means he might be able to keep or retain more power. Which is why we saw that with Alex Pereira when he went up to 205. It's not that I think his power even increased, if anything, because like he was cutting less weight, which would have meant that he was taking less power away from himself because he's not abusing his body as much. So listen, we'll see how Ilya does. This might actually be the best Ilya we've seen. We have seen Ilya at 155. That's the only time he went through adversity on short notice. Pretty sure that was a Jai Herbert fight where he got head kicked and dropped. But you know what I'm saying? Like I said, short notice, he's still looking that good. I think Ilya Topuria, I think he played it well. I honestly think the one moving up from 145 was the play, and I think he's still going to be a problem because I really believe that these major weight cuts are creating people who are damn near unstoppable to beat. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I really feel like when I look at it, like Khabib, Aljo, Ilya, Alex Pereira, these excessive weight cutters, like who know how to cut weight appropriately and put it on back, like put on the LBs back when the time you get in the ring, they're the most dangerous people in the world. Let me know what you guys think down below, though. And that's it for me. And God bless. 2, 3, 4.